Hi, everybody. I'm Gloria Moraga. This is the Political Woman Podcast. It's Thursday, April 17th, 2025. It's my birthday, and I'm up. It just turned midnight. It's my birthday. Thought I would do something a little different. I've done this before, but I wanted to read from an opinion piece I read in the New York Times because it describes my feelings, but in a much more succinct way. It was just good because he's a great writer. The piece is called "I Have Never Been More Afraid for My Country's Future," and it was posted in the New York Times, published in the New York Times on April 15th, 2025, so 2 days ago. It was written by Thomas L. Friedman, who's a brilliant writer who's won more than one Pulitzers for his writing and for his reporting. And it really summed up how I feel about what Trump is doing to our country, but in particular, what he's doing in regards to the tariffs and to China. So I will read and quote and give him full credit as I share his story, and I'll interject, as usual, my thoughts and feelings. There's a picture at the top, at the front of the article, of a coal miner. And that picture, which I will share here, says so much. It says so much. So here we go, quote, the article, "I Have Never Been More Afraid for My Country's Future," written by Thomas L. Friedman. Quote, "So much crazy happens with the Trump administration every day that some downright weird but incredible telling stuff gets lost in the noise. A recent example was the scene on April 8th at the White House, where in the middle of his raging trade war, our president decided it was a perfect time to sign an executive order to bolster coal mining. We are bringing back an industry that was abandoned," said Trump, surrounded by coal miners and hard hats, members of a workforce that has declined to about 40,000 from 70,000 over the last decade, according to Reuters. "We're going to put miners back to work." For good measure, Trump added about these miners, and this is Trump speaking, "You could give them a penthouse on Fifth Avenue and a different kind of job and they'd be unhappy. They want to mine coal. That's what they love to do." End quote. I'm not reading now. This is my personal thought. The man is a lunatic. He's a lunatic. I mean, even just anybody who's watched a coal mining movie, who's read a little bit about the coal industry and the work that these men have done through this years, knows that this is all BS. He's crazy. It's unbelievable how out of touch with reality the Trump administration is. Back to the article, quote, "It's commendable that the president honors men and women who work with their hands. But when he singles out coal miners for praise, when he tries to zero out the development of clean tech jobs from his budget, in 2023, the U.S. wind energy industry employed approximately 130,000 workers, while the solar industry employed 280,000. It suggests that Trump is trapped in a right-wing woke ideology that doesn't recognize green manufacturing jobs as real jobs. How is that going to make us stronger?" And I'm just going to add here, you can just listen to Trump talk about windmills or wind energy and know when you listen to him how out of touch he is with reality. Our Earth is failing. Anybody who doesn't recognize that is not very smart, doesn't give a damn about our future, and doesn't care about what we are leaving behind for our children. That's what I'm worried about as I age. My children and my grandchildren and the young people I love so much. So back to the article. Quote, "This whole Trump 2 administration is a cruel farce. Trump ran for another term, not because he had any clue how to transform America for the 21st century. He ran in order to stay out of jail and to get revenge on those who, with real evidence, had tried to hold him accountable to the law. I doubt he has ever spent 5 minutes studying the workforce of the future." He then returned to the White House, his head filled with ideas out of the 1970s. There he launched a trade war with no allies and no serious preparation, which is why he changes his tariffs almost every day, and no understanding of how much the global economy is now a complex ecosystem in which products are assembled from components from multiple countries. And then he has this war carried out by a commerce secretary who thinks millions of Americans are dying to replace Chinese workers, quote, screwing in little screws to make iPhones. But this farce is about to touch every American by attacking our closest allies, Canada, Mexico, Japan, South Korea, and the European Union, and our biggest rival, China. At the same time, he makes clear he favors Russia over Ukraine and prefers climate-destroying energy industries over future-oriented ones. The planet be damned. Trump is triggering a serious loss of global confidence in America. The world is now seeing Trump's America for exactly what it is becoming: a rogue state led by an impulsive strongman, disconnected from the rule of law and other constitutional American principles and values. And do you know what our Democratic allies do with rogue states? Let's connect some dots. First, they don't buy treasury bills as much as they used to. So America has to offer them higher rates of interest to do so, which will ripple through our entire economy, from car payments to home mortgages to the cost of servicing our national debt at the expense of everything else. And this is a quote within the article. Quote, "Our President Trump's herky-jerky decision-making and border taxes causing the world's investors to shy away from the dollar and U.S. Treasuries," asks the Wall Street Journal's editorial page on Sunday, under the headline, "Is there a new U.S. risk premium?" Too soon to say, but not too soon to ask, as bond yields keep spiking and the dollar keeps weakening. Classic signs of a loss of confidence that does not have to be large to have a large impact on our whole economy. And the article goes on. By the time I got to this point in the article, my heart was pounding because the man is destroying America. And I don't even grasp, I can't even understand why. I mean, I know why. He is, as people much smarter than me have said, a sociopath. He is He's lost all touch with reality, and he's surrounded by people who encourage him and validate him every day, who fawn and praise him, and it's sickening. And they're not smart, they're mean, and they're damaging. And it's tragic. And the article goes on. The second thing is that our allies lose faith in our institutions. The Financial Times reported Monday that the European Union's governing commission is issuing burner phones and basic laptops to some U.S.-bound staff to avoid the risk of espionage, a measure traditionally reserved for trips to China. It doesn't trust the rule of law in America anymore. The third thing people overseas do is to tell themselves and their children, and I heard this repeatedly in China a few weeks ago, that maybe it's not a good idea any longer to study in America. The reason? They don't know when their kids might be arbitrarily arrested, when their family members might get deported to Salvadorian prisons. My God, they're so mean, and this is me talking. This is what they want. This is what they said they were going to do. They want people to be afraid so they don't come here. And look what we're losing. Look what we're losing. He's trying to destroy our universities. And thank God, I'm so glad Harvard is fighting back. But not everybody is as brave as Harvard. There's only one Harvard. So I left off when he's talking about other countries don't want their kids to go here to study. And I don't blame them. I wouldn't send my loved ones here, not with these Looney Tunes running the country. And this is the article quote, "Is this irreversible? All I know for sure today is that somewhere out there as you read this is someone like Steve Jobs' Syrian birth father who came to our shores in 1950s to get a PhD at the University of Wisconsin. Someone who was planning to study in America, but is now looking to go to Canada or Europe instead. You shrink all those things. Our ability to attract the world's energetic and entrepreneurial immigrants, which allows us to be the world center for innovation. Our power to draw in a disproportionate share of the world's savings, which allows us to live beyond our means for decades, and our reputation for upholding the rule of law. And over time, you end up with an America that will be less prosperous, less respected, and increasingly isolated." And yes, you hear my nose running? Because I'm crying. I'm crying on my birthday as I read this because it's true. I just love this country so much. Someone in one of my posts, one of my videos I posted, someone said, "If you're so miserable here, why don't you leave?" It's like, no, I'm not leaving. You leave. Let Trump leave. This is my country. And yes, I weep for what he's doing to it. But I'm not giving up. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here reading this great article on my birthday to share it with you. Sorry. I'm not sorry. No, I'm not. Because this is serious. And I'm proud of what's happening in America on the other end of this. Bernie Sanders and AOC and people in Iowa in that town hall standing up and saying what's going to happen to the man who got deported to El Salvador. People in Iowa asking that question, and it makes me proud to be one of them. Back to the article. Wait, you say, but isn't China still digging coal? Yes, it is, but with long-term plans to phase it out and use robots to do the dangerous and health-sapping work of miners. And that's the point. While Trump is doing his rambling about whatever strikes him at the moment as good policy, China is weaving long-term plans. In 2015, a year before Trump became president, China's prime minister at the time unveiled a forward-looking growth plan called Made in China 2025. It began by asking, what will be the growth engine for the 21st century? Beijing then made huge investments in the elements of the engine's components, so Chinese companies could dominate them at home and abroad. We're talking clean energy, batteries, electric vehicles, autonomous cars, robots, new materials, machine tools, drones, quantum computing, and artificial intelligence. The most recent Nature Index shows that China has become the leading country globally for research output in the database in chemistry, earth and environmental sciences, and physical sciences, and is second for biological sciences and health sciences. Does that mean China will leave us in the dust? No. Beijing is making a huge mistake if it thinks the rest of the world is going to let China indefinitely suppress its domestic demand for goods and services so the government can go on subsidizing export industries and try to make everything for everyone, leaving other countries hollowed out and dependent. Beijing needs to rebalance its economy, so Trump is right to pressure it to do so. But Trump's constant bluster and his wild on and off imposition of tariffs are not a strategy, not when you're taking on China. On the 10th anniversary of Made in China 2025, you see, and this is me talking now, you see, people in this country were working on Project 2025 to destroy half of the country, to pick on us and bully us if we're different than them, if we're not white, if we're not straight, if we're not phony straight, or, phony religious, because they're not really religious, because I've studied religion. I grew up going to church and studying the Bible and studying Jesus Christ, and I know what they are, what they represent, is nothing like what he wants and wanted for us. So, yeah, the 2025 people, the Trump people that are now in charge, were too busy trying to figure out how to destroy half of us because we're not like them, while China was working on this, on ruling the world. All right, back to the article. If Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent really believes what he foolishly said, that Beijing is just playing with a pair of twos, then somebody please let me know when it's poker night at the White House, because I want to buy in. China has built an economic engine that gives it options. Yeah, they talk about playing cards. We can't beat China. We don't have the cards. Back to the article, quote, the question for Beijing and the rest of the world is, how will China use all the surpluses it has generated? Will it invest them in making a more menacing military? Will it invest them in more high-speed rail lines and 6-lane highways to cities that don't need them? Or will it invest in more domestic consumption and services while offering to build the next generation of Chinese factories and supply lines in America and Europe with 50-50 ownership structures? We need to encourage China to make the right choices, but at least China has choices. Compare that with the choices Trump is making. He is undermining our sacred rule of law. He is tossing away our allies. He is undermining the value of the dollar, and he is shredding any hope of national unity. He's even got Canadians now boycotting Las Vegas because they don't like to be told that we will soon own them. So you tell me, who's playing with a pair of twos? If Trump doesn't stop his rogue behavior, he is going to destroy all the things that made America strong, respected, and prosperous. I have never been more afraid for America's future in my life. End quote. So I wanted to share that article with you because it's so damn good. And because all of this bluster with Trump and the tariffs yesterday, April 16th, the stock market crashed again. I mean, we lost, went down. And, I've got all these people on TikTok, all these Trump trolls, when I post a video saying, oh, he planned this. This was his plan. The stock market's already come back. And I answer back to them, it's not over, man. This is just beginning. This is just the tip of the iceberg. And, it's hitting the Titanic. We're in trouble here. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't have a plan. He doesn't even have the concept of the plan. I just also had this great podcast yesterday from Ezra Klein, why Trump could lose his trade war with China. And Ezra Klein interviewed the writer of this article, Thomas Friedman. And Friedman talked about his recent trip to China and how all of the cell phone manufacturers in China are now manufacturing electric cars. And when you get in this electric car, it's just high tech and has a great sound system, and you plug your computer right in. And yeah. And what's Trump doing? Destroying our economy. And we're spending all of our time struggling to get a father back from the worst prison in the world in El Salvador. And they don't care. They don't care about human beings. And we've still got Elon Musk destroying Social Security and gutting it. They just tried to revamp the computer system and they did it wrong. And on and on and on. They're destroyers. It's easy to destroy. It's easy to hate. It's hard to build something up. I love Joe Biden for the infrastructure bill because I love building. I love looking at plans to build. And then I look at Trump and he's just a destroyer ripping everything down. All right, I'm Gloria Moraga, Political Woman. Please subscribe. Please follow me. I need your support, especially on YouTube. And please, more than anything, be safe. Happy birthday to me.